So, is your organization just drowning in a sea of totally inconsistent CI/CD pipelines? I mean, if you're the architect who's been tasked with fixing this whole mess, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to build a clear roadmap to standardize your practices on GCP. We're talking about turning that chaos into a streamlined, powerful platform. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start by really putting a name to the problem we're solving. It's something so many engineering teams face as they grow: pipeline sprawl. It's this organic and honestly pretty chaotic growth of disconnected CI/CD processes all across the company. So let me ask you this. Does this sound familiar? Are your teams all out there reinventing the wheel, each one crafting their own CI/CD pipeline completely from scratch? If you're nodding your head right now, you already know the pain that comes with it: inconsistency, scary security blind spots, and a brutally slow onboarding process for any new developers. And this really shows the core difference, right? On one side, you've got the siloed Wild West, and on the other, a strategic platform approach. Think about your platform team. They're not builders of individual houses. They're more like city planners. You don't tell developers what to build, but you provide all the essential infrastructure. The power grid, the water mains, the secure roads, so they can build amazing things and do it quickly and safely. So what do these secure roads actually look like in the real world? Well, this brings us to the very heart of the platform, what we call the golden path. It's a single, well-paved, totally standardized pipeline that guides every single developer from their first line of code all the way to a successful production release. Of course, every platform needs its tools. You could go for GCP native solutions like Cloud Build and Cloud Deploy. You get that really deep integration with the whole GCP ecosystem. Or you could use tools like GitHub Actions or GitLab CI, which give you a lot more multi-cloud flexibility. But here's the real power of the platform approach. This decision can be completely abstracted away from the developers. They get a consistent experience, and it doesn't matter what tools are humming along under the hood. And this is a fundamental shift in how you think about this stuff. The goal isn't to just give developers a toolbox full of random parts, it's to provide a complete assembly line. A single elegant pipeline template that has all of your organization's security, quality, and deployment best practices baked right in from the start. So let's walk through this golden path. It all kicks off the moment a developer pushes code to the main branch. That one action triggers the entire automated sequence. First, the code is built and tested, just to make sure it works as expected. Next up, it goes through a mandatory security scan. This is a non-negotiable step to catch vulnerabilities early. If it passes, it gets deployed to a staging environment for that final validation. And before it goes live, there's a crucial manual approval gate, making sure there's human oversight. Only then is it automatically promoted to production. What you get is a process that is simple, repeatable, and secure by default. Now let's zoom in on that final deployment step, especially for anyone running on Google Kubernetes Engine. How can we make absolutely sure that deployments are automated, reliable, and completely auditable? Well, the answer lies in a practice called GitOps. At its core, GitOps is a really simple but incredibly powerful idea. Your Git repository becomes the one and only source of truth, not just for your application code, but for the desired state of your entire infrastructure. You do this with declarative configuration, which is basically code that describes what you want your system to look like, not the nitty-gritty of how to get it there. Your live environment just becomes a mirror of what's defined in Git. This quote just perfectly captures the whole idea of GitOps. If a developer wants to change what's running in a GKE cluster, they don't just run kubectl apply from their laptop. Nope. They create a pull request. The repository becomes the only legitimate way to change what's happening in production. So how does this actually work? Well, it's this continuous loop. First, a change gets merged into the main configuration branch in Git. Now, a GitOps controller, something like Argo CD or Flux, is constantly watching this repository. It's always comparing it to the live cluster. The second it sees a difference, what we call drift, it automatically jumps into action, pulling the live cluster back into sync with the state defined in Git. It basically creates a self-healing, self-managing system. It's fantastic. All right, so we've got our standardized pipeline, and we have an automated deployment mechanism. Now, you've got to put on your architect hat. How do you design this platform to scale effectively and securely across dozens or maybe even hundreds of engineering teams? This is all about finding that perfect balance between centralized control and team autonomy. Look, some gates are just non-negotiable. Every single service, no exceptions, has to pass unit tests and vulnerability scans. But other steps, like maybe some specific performance tests, those can be optional. You can leave that to the individual teams. You enforce the critical standards, but you also empower teams to handle their own unique requirements.
So let's just boil this all down. What are the key design principles for building a truly world-class CI/CD platform? First, build everything around templates. You have to ensure consistency. Second, abstract away the complexity from developers. Third, enforce security centrally so it is never an afterthought. Fourth, automate everything you possibly can with GitOps. And finally, and this is maybe the most important one, invest in clear documentation and support. Because even the most brilliant platform is going to fail if people don't know how to use it.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial question. You can build the perfect highway, but have you actually taught your developers how to drive on it? A platform is so much more than just technology. It's a cultural shift. Creating the training, the documentation, and the support systems for your teams is every bit as important as the infrastructure itself. So what's your plan to make sure they're ready for the journey?